Hey there, my name's Greg. Welcome to my charcuterie cabinet. Let's take a look inside. It's a little dark in here without the light on. Ah, there we go. Now it's going to start beeping at me because the door is open. Got some Culatella prosciuttos here. Got a capicola, otherwise known as gabagool. A couple of salamis. Pancettas in the back. Got some duck salami here. Anyway, I'm going to go through this, weigh it up, see if anything's ready to come out. Told you it was going to start beeping at me. Let's weigh some things up. So here's my big notebook of projects. These first few pages are just what's actually in there at the moment. This is what we're going to weigh up, keep track of. And the rest of these are all my notes. Sausages, salamis, cured meats, pretty much everything I've done in the last couple of years or so. Every now and then you got to start a new notebook. Anyway, first thing I'm going to weigh up is my chorizo Astoria. This is a smoky, very smoky chorizo. Astoria is in Spain. So this isn't just Spanish chorizo, it's a regional variety of Spanish chorizo. This went in there just over a month ago, a month and a week. And the way I determine the weight loss, to take its current weight, and I divide that by its original weight. So it weighs 75% of its original weight. If I go minus 1, it tells me that it's at 25% weight loss, 24.7% weight loss. So that's how I determine my weight loss. Everything except the really fatty things like pancetta needs to get to at least 30% moisture loss. I like my salamis to get closer to 40%. So what I'm going to do is write that down, and I'll put that back into my chamber. So, this has been in my chamber for 5 weeks. In the first 3 weeks, it lost 20% of its weight. And then the last 2 weeks, it's lost another 5% of its weight. So you can really see how things slow down once they've been in there for a little while. Next, I got some duck salami. This has lost 40% of its weight, so that's coming out. Small ones lost 39% of its weight, so that's coming out too. If you want to see how I made these, make sure to subscribe to my channel. This one's called Nduja. It's a spreadable salami. It's also been in my chamber for about 5 weeks. I'm just going to take the weight out of curiosity, but this one is not going to be based on weight because it's got such a high fat content, it will never get to 40%. I don't think. Although it has lost 10% of its weight in the past 5 weeks. So it's losing weight. I'm kind of thinking when this is done, gets to 25% weight loss or so, it'll be ready. I'll probably leave it aged for at least 6 months. Time is flavor with charcuterie. You can see on this bottom end, because it's been hanging like this, my fingers are greasy just from touching that string. That's a high fat content right there. This one here is a lamb prosciutto. See, it's got some of this white mold going on. Penicillium nalgiavensis. Did not inoculate it, but I have a lot in my chamber. So it kind of jumps onto everything I put in there. Except things that are smoked. For some reason, when you smoke things, it keeps that mold from growing on it. So again, we'll take the current weight, and I'm going to divide that by its starting weight. Minus 1. This has lost 31.5%. I'm going to let this go to about 35%. Lamb's pretty lean. I like to take leaner meats out at around 35%. Fattier pieces, I like to leave them to 40% so they can keep getting flavor. The texture gets affected with leaner cuts that get dried to 40%. This has been in my chamber for 40 days. In the first 11 days, it lost 15%. And it's taken the other 29 days. It's lost 16.5%. So again, you can really see how it slows down. Next, I'm going to weigh these saucisson d'Arles. It's a French salami. And the other one, these have both lost 36% of their weight. They could be eaten. Like I said, 30% is pretty much good to go. These have really slowed down. These have been in my chamber for about 3 months now. And they only lost 1% in the last 2 weeks. So I'm really curious. I might take one of these out soon just to try it, because I'm really curious about these. These are made with truffle-infused pork fat. And pretty excited to try that. But for now, they're going back in the chamber. This is a Culatella prosciutto. It came off of this pig. This has been in my chamber for 4 months now. This white coating is called Sunya. It's made of rice flour and lard, and it slows down the drying so that this can have the time it needs to develop flavor. With the sunya, I have to change the way I weigh it. So I take its current weight, I subtract the weight of the sunya when I put it on, and then I divide that by its starting weight. So this here has lost about 25% of its weight. In the first 2 months in my chamber, it lost 23% of its weight. Then I put the sunya on, and in the last 2 months, it has only lost 2% of its weight. So that sunya really slows it down. That's how we'll be able to age this for a year or more to really get some incredible flavor. This is the other Culatella prosciutto off that same pig. He was a Berkshire-Hampshire cross. This one has lost 24% of its weight. And this one's a little bit special. It's this is a truffle Culatello. I used some truffle salt instead of just plain salt in the cure. I'm curious to see how that's going to come out. Calabrian gabagool, otherwise known as capicola or copa. It's the copa muscle. Capicola is what the cured meat is. Gabagool is what they call it in parts of New Jersey. This here is at 39% weight loss. You know, I think I'm going to leave that back in the cabinet. Better to lose another percent in the next month. It'll keep getting flavor. Time is flavor with charcuterie. There's another gabagool, another capicola. This one is what I call my fall flavor gabagool. It's got things you'd expect in the fall, like the nutmeg, the cinnamon, cloves, that kind of thing. Very tasty. This one has also lost 39%, but I'm going to take it out. This one's a bit smaller. It's been in there 6 months, where that other one's been in there for 8 months. But I'm going to take this one out now. Ideally, I like to equalize things for the same amount of time they've been drying, but at a minimum, I like to equalize them for half the time that they've been drying, at a very minimal. So if I take this out now, you know, it'll be 5 months, be between 5 and 6 months of equalizing. We'll be able to eat this for Thanksgiving, Christmas, all those times when the fall flavors are just right. So stick around to the end of the video. Probably cut into this one too. Now I'm ready for these giant thick pancettas. This has only lost 9 grams in the last month. It hasn't even lost 1% in the last month. It's really slowing down, but it is still drying. It's been in there 14 months at this point, but it's still only 24% moisture loss. I really like my pancettas to get to at least 25%, and it's not going to hurt the flavor. It's only going to get better. Maybe mildly, maybe very subtle, but time is flavor. And this would be a lot harder for me to wait for if I didn't have other pancettas that are already equalizing. Because once you get a cycle of things going, there's always something coming out ready. Makes it a lot easier to be patient. And this is another section of pancetta off that same belly, so it's also been in there for 14 months. Although this is the fattest section, it's been drying the slowest. And I believe this is the fattiest part, because it's just drying the slowest. It's big, but I think it's more that it's so fatty. It's only at 20% weight loss. This has been in there for 14 months. I'm pretty sure this would be safe to eat, even though it's only at 20%. But like I said, I have other pancettas ready to go. I'm just going to leave it in there. If you've ever had the chance to eat some seriously aged prosciutto, there's a difference from a 2-year aged and like a 5-year aged. I'm not sure how long this pancetta is going to go, but it's going longer. So here's a Culatella prosciutto. It's been aging for 14 months. This is at 39% weight loss. I'm going to put it back in there. Let it get to 40%. This one was off a big black red wattle cross. And that pig has made some pretty tasty charcuterie. Pretty excited for this one. And finally, my whole leg prosciutto. If you've watched some of my videos, you know I'm not too sure if this is going to be okay or not. I did not butcher it correctly. I left the whole socket in here. It should have been butchered at the ball joint. It may just be spoiled. I don't know. Gonna let my nose determine that when I cut into it. This is at about 30% weight loss since the time I put it in my cabinet. And it's at about 39.4% weight loss since I originally started it. Because this did lose a fair amount of weight in the salt box. Pack it in salt, press it, change out that salt a couple times. And it did lose quite a bit of weight in that process. I could take this out, but I'm a little nervous to cut into it, so I don't know what to do about it. For now, I'm just going to throw it back in there. One of these days I'll get brave and I'll cut open and hope for the best, you know. But today's not the day. This one's going back in the cabinet. Well, let's cut in here and see what this one's all about, shall we? Get the mesh off, the netting, peel off the collagen sheet. Not uncommon for some of the mold to make it through the collagen sheet. Doesn't always, usually some will. This white mold is Penicillium nalgiavensis that has jumped onto this from other things in my cabinet. It's perfectly fine to eat. However, I'm going to be equalizing this by vacuum sealing it and putting it in my fridge for roughly the same amount of time that it took to dry. And if I equalize it with this mold on, that mold will die and get slimy. It'll probably add some off-putting flavors that I'm not really looking for. So I'm going to wash that off. Could use white vinegar. I'm going to use some red wine because I think red wine will go really well with these fall flavors if there's any flavor left behind from the wash. And then I just wipe it down, brush it off with a stiff bristle brush. And as you can see, it really comes off pretty easily. I'll just dry that off a little bit with a paper towel. And I'll vacuum seal it in 2 halves. And we'll take a look at what it looks like inside. Oh, wait till you see this. That's what I'm talking about. That's the gabagool, capicola. Oh, and it smells like fall. It's just got all those warming notes from the fall spices. And that's the telltale and fat pattern of a capicola. Basically, if pigs had necks, this is the pork neck. And I guess they kind of do have necks. It's just really part of the shoulder. So anyway, I'm going to vacuum seal these up, put them in the fridge, let them equalize. We'll be eating these in another 6 to 8 months or so, just in time for Thanksgiving and Christmas. If you liked this video or learned anything, make sure to give it a big old thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to my channel and you're still watching, I'm pretty sure you'd like some of my other content. Make sure you put some love into the food you're making. Peace.